G'day me Aussie Patriot mates. So you think Australia's rooted, do you? Because our Prime Minister, Airbus Albay, is over sightseeing in China? Well, here's something you won't hear on the mainstream news. Check this out, legends. Fair dinkum. Australia. We got a lot of backing. We got 19 countries in Australia right now doing war games. And our Prime Minister is sucking cock in China. Fuck you, Albay.
First article of the day here. And this is, they've just led with Australia fires the first HIMARS long-range rocket in a war game with the US. That's one way to say it. It's not just one of these HIMARS. It is absolutely loads of them. So let's go into a bit more granular detail, and then we'll jump through the big stories here. So this began yesterday. It's TALISMAN SABRE is the operation. But it began yesterday. Australia's Army field fired a truck-mounted long-range rocket system that's become a priority for US allies in the Indo-Pacific for the first time today. This was the first time they've ever launched them. This was alongside US and Singapore forces firing the same system in joint war games. Keywords, war games. Armored trucks with HIMARS, this stands for High Mobility Artillery Rocket Systems, that can reach 400 kilometers or 250 miles, are in very high demand in the Ukraine conflict. We'll talk about that and what Trump said in a moment as well. And they're also being acquired by US allies in the Indo-Pacific, including Australia, which is reshaping its forces in red here to respond to China's military build-up. So it's quite clear which side they are looking at here. On the first day then, which was yesterday, was the first official day of the war games. TALISMAN SABRE, this was the US, Australia, Japan, France, so interestingly, we'll come on to Japan in a moment, France, South Korea, remember we talked about their economy last week, which I believe is in, not yet in a free fall, but it's not far off, same with Japan. And interestingly, same with France, has the highest debt levels now, GDP to debt levels in Europe. We also have Singapore, which is interesting that they've got involved, being a very safe island nation, but there it is. They held a live firing exercise in northern Queensland involving the US F-35B fighter jets and the land-based long-range strike rockets and missiles. So it was between 35 and 40,000 troops from 19 nations are taking part in this across thousands of kilometers from Australia's Indian Ocean territory of Christmas Island to the Coral Sea on Australia's east coast. Now, there's a couple of points I just wanted to bring out of this, which you might find interesting. So we got a couple of stats here. This began yesterday on July 13th, and it will run through to August 4th. So a couple weeks, 2-3 week exercise. This is the largest exercise they have ever done in the region. It doesn't say why, but I think we know exactly why. And there's also, as well as these 19 nations, up to 40,000 troops, there are 2 to 3 observers. They say 2 to 3 because the third one is PNG, but the 2 observers are Malaysia and Vietnam. Very interesting that Vietnam is observing. Now, which other nations were involved then? Well, it is, we covered US, Australia, the United Kingdom is also involved in this, Canada, France, Germany, India, Japan, South Korea, Singapore, Norway, New Zealand, PNG, Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, Tonga, Fiji, the Netherlands, and the UK's carrier strike group, including the HMS Prince of Wales. I mean, this is huge, ladies and gentlemen. It's not plastered all over the BBC or Fox News or whatever outlet you watch, but it's shocking that it's not plastered all over the news with what is going on right now with this exercise. They are doing all sorts of simulated attacks. I find it interesting that they're calling this a defensive exercise when all of the stuff that I'm seeing here is attack based, but they're calling it again defensive. Locations right across Australia here, and they're focusing on live firing, amphibious landings, air combat, ground maneuvers, maritime exercises, cyber attacks, space, and more. They are using HIMARS tanks, F-35B jets, F-18, C-17, Black Hawks, naval surface, subsurface warfare. This goes on and on and on. Now, this is what I thought was really interesting about this, was who wasn't involved. So I wanted to look into the countries which I've just outlined there, which are involved, but who wasn't invited, who isn't invited. China was the one that was not only not invited, but there are security procedures in place because China is observing. The blockers responded to this, calling it an outrage that China is observing their exercises. So that tells you right away by that word outrage that this is for China. I think it's quite clear. Not just China though. Russia was not invited as well. Iran was not invited. North Korea was not invited. So they're the big four of that axis. And then you have Myanmar, also not invited, which is, if you recall, that's under a military occupation, military coup now as a country. Pakistan was also not invited. Laos, Cambodia, these were not invited. So it sort of tells you where the lines are being drawn, I would say. So let's just go back to this article then. Let's continue on with this. What did the Australian Army Brigadier say then? He said of the combined live fire exercise, it was the first time Australia, Singapore, and the United States had fired these HIMARS together on home soil. He said, in conjunction with a number of other weapon platforms, this is to ensure we have a strategy of denial for security. I thought that was a really weird use, to ensure we have a strategy of denial, peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific. Australia has previously said army regiments with HIMARS can be transported to neighbouring, another key word, neighbouring island states with defence agreements to protect its northern approaches in a conflict. Lockheed Martin, obviously the manufacturers of the HIMARS, they've delivered 2 of the 42 vehicles that were ordered by Australia in April already. And Australia said it's going to spend $74 billion or $49 billion on missiles over the next decade. Interesting, they're focusing on missiles here, including a new domestic manufacturing capability, a deterrent mechanism because our ultimate goal is no war. And that's another interesting thing or pattern that I'm seeing at the moment. They're all saying that their objective is no war, and yet if you look at the equipment that they're ordering, it's they are attack weapons. So I thought that was quite interesting, although you could say, well, a HIMAR or some of the others can be used if they are being attacked. They can fire them at whoever's attacking them. So that's an argument for it. But I do find it quite interesting how this is moving forward. Now, there's a couple of other things. This exercise actually began in 2005, and this was just between the US and Australia. But since then, it's really ramped up. Here's the Chinese aspect. The surveillance ships have monitored naval exercises off the Australian coast during the last 4 exercises. They said, we will adjust actually this was Conroy that said this, we will adjust accordingly, we will obviously observe their activities and monitor their presence around Australia, but we will also adjust how we conduct those exercises. Now, I thought that Beijing had a lot to say as well. We'll come on to that. But we've got some images that show you what has been taking place then. This was a Japanese Chu-Sam surface-to-air missile that they launched. This was...
Yeah, well, we get the idea. Australia, we're not alone, mates. God bless Australia. We're a Christian-based country, and any country which is Christian-based, God is going to look after us. Wishing you well. I'm going to play a song for us. God bless Australia. and our mates, lest we forget. Let's roll.
Generals gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. Evil minds that plot destruction, sorcerer of death's construction. In the fields of bodies burning, as the war machine keeps turning. Death and hatred to mankind, poisoning their brainwashed minds. Oh Lord, yes. Politicians hide themselves away. They only started the war. Why should they go out to fight? They leave peril to the poor. Yeah. Time will tell them they have power minds, making war just for fun, treating people just like pawns in chess. Wait until that judgment day comes. Yeah. Hey. 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 Now in darkness, world stops turning, as you hear the bodies burning. No more war pigs have the power, and as God has struck the hour, day of judgment, God is calling. On their knees, the war pigs crawling, begging mercies for their sins. Satan laughing spreads his wings. Oh Lord, yeah.
Alright. Try to fuck around with Australia, you'll find out. Big love, legends. God bless you. Peace, I hope.